Duke is going to begin with a 1-drop. It's a Cloud from Raptor, and we are underway in our semifinals. Looks like Boettcher does have a Temple of Malice. It looks like we're going to start off with a Thoughtseize. So Reid will display a hand of Tidebinder Mage, Thassa, God of the Sea, Master Waves, and Domestication. And what this hand right now is, Patrick, is very beatable.
It is very beatable. You can take either the 2-drop or the Thassa, strand Reid with not that much left over, not that much pressure, and a bunch of 4-drops in his hand.
Yeah. Of course, I think this is a very keepable hand here from Reid. He's got a 1 and a 2, and if he draws a land, he has a 3. But Thoughtseize kind of blows this up, honestly.
It makes his hand substantially worse because the 2 4s in his hand are probably not going to be good for a very long time, if at all. It magnifies how much Reid is leaning on the Tidebinder Mage and the Thoughts to make this hand acceptable.
And we're going to go with the Tidebinder Mage. So maybe Boettcher hoping that Duke doesn't draw any lands for a couple of turns to play Thassa on time. There's an island. Simply pass the turn back over to Boettcher. Boettcher draws a Bile Blight.
Uh-oh.
That is a Pack Rat. That is a very, very important draw. Now it's on Reid to draw the 3rd land. And this is exactly why you play the games. Even though Boettcher mulliganed to 5, a start like Thoughtseize Pack Rat is really all it takes to really get back into it. Duke does have the 3rd island, and now here's a Nightveil Spectre, going to evolve the Cloud from Raptor, and in for 1 comes the Duke.
Yeah, Reid realizes here he's got to get a move on. He cannot afford to just play Thassa, not attack again, say go.
Boettcher draws a card for the turn. It was a Temple of Malice. We'll see if he has an untapped land. He does not. So the Temple will come down. I'm just trying to take a look at things here.
Well, this is an interesting scry. If he kills the Nightveil Spectre, then he can kind of play this as is. If he can't kill the Nightveil Spectre, then he can't even leave a land on top of the deck, because the land from the Nightveil Spectre allows him to just domesticate the Pack Rat, which Jared probably can't keep up from. So he has to kill Nightveil if he can, I believe, and also needs to protect himself from the 4th land coming off the top in the event that he can't kill it.
Boettcher put the top card to the bottom with a scry off a Temple of Malice. And Duke takes his draw. Again, we know about a Domestication, a Master of Waves, and a Thassa in hand. He's going to start by attacking here with both of his flyers. Looks like Boettcher has a Bile Blight in his hand right now. We'll see if he wants to pull the trigger on this. And he will.
He's just hoping that Reid has missed running lands here.
Nightveil Spectre bites the dust. 1 damage will come across. Duke looks like he does have a land. He does. It's an island. And this is a Domestication taking Pack Rat. Pretty important there.
This is going to be really hard for Jared to keep up with now. With that Pack Rat, he had a shot to play this game, but now his hand is nonsense, basically, as a Gray Merchant plus something else left over.
Looks like it's going to be an Underworld Connections, and it is. So the last card there in Boettcher's hand is Gray Merchant. Now, Duke, of course, doesn't have black mana just yet, but we have seen him pull some antics with Nykthos a little bit earlier yesterday.
Keep in mind, his hand still has a Master of Waves in it, so, and Thassa.
Yep.
So he's got a lot to work with.
The 2 best cards in the deck is what he's left over with. Though I must say, Domestication has done quite a bit of work.
2 in the main deck for Reid, and they've been working overtime when we've had him on camera.
So Reid is going to carefully play out his 5th turn here. Never too hasty, always thinking things through. He's going to start by attacking here for 2. Boettcher going to go down to 14. That is an island. This is a Thassa, God of the Sea. Devotion count is 4. As Boettcher will untap, his devotion count is at 2 for the Gray Merchant. Going to start by paying 1, going down to 13. Add a card. He saw his draw, so it was Nightveil Spectre. The activation of Underworld Connections nets him another Gray Merchant. He will go with the Spectre before passing the turn back over to Duke.
I mean, these couple Gray Merchants and his devotion count do give him some shot of stealing the game that way.
Duke looking at the top card with Thassa, deciding where he wants to go. Again, we know about the Master of Waves in his hand. The rest is a mystery, including the card that he is looking at with the scry.
Typically, Gray Merchant's not really that exceptional against mono blue, but because Jared is so low on resources here, he's probably going to have to try to steal the game, essentially.
I think that's one of the things that makes Mono Black such a powerful deck is that even though Jared is very far behind, having the ability to steal a game with just runner, Grey Merchant is what makes the deck so appealing and so powerful. As Duke is going to take that top card and put it to the bottom. Mystery card coming here. One blue will be a Judge's Familiar. That's the 5th Devotion. Now it's time for a Master of Waves. Devotion count at 6, so 6, 2, 1 elementals. A little bit of evolution here. And now Thassa can run wild in the red zone, and it will. So Duke really turning up the heat now.
Yep. Now Jared can't even really Grey Merchant. Next turn, he needs to find a removal spell for Master of Waves to continue to play. And even then, that doesn't solve the issue of Thassa making things unblockable.
And Master of Waves is priority number 1, Thassa priority number 2. And I don't think he has the time to get rid of both. He did draw a Hero's Downfall, but as you mentioned, that's pretty much reserved for Master Waves at this point.
Master of Waves typically not great against Mono Black. They have a lot of ways to shove it aside for little costs, but Jared's so low on resources and there's so many angle of attacks here that even if it's Jared's entire turn to remove it, that's good enough from Reid's perspective.
In we go. Will Duke do some blocking here? Cloudman Raptor, of course, can just run into this thing.
Yeah, I think this is Jared trying to bluff through an attack plus a Night Veil trigger.
And does not work, and Boettcher will concede the game. So Reid Duke is going to win game number 1 here over Jared Boettcher. Mono Blue Devotion up a game over Black Red Devotion, and we will turn our attention to the sideboards in just a moment, but we'll bring it back to the booth here because it is time for our first trivia giveaway of the day. Patrick will have a 6-month question for you. Very simply, use the hashtag of SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at SCG Live, and we'll announce the winner at the conclusion of our semifinal round. So it's about accuracy, not speed, with the contest. And of course, all giveaways here at Star City Games are at the sole discretion of Star City Games. Twitch.tv is in no way affiliated with our giveaways. We do appreciate, of course, Twitch allowing us to be broadcast via their
thanks
website.
a lot. It's pretty helpful.
You guys do some nice work there.
Yeah.
So, Patrick, I hope you have a doozy.
Well, Reid's got, a couple 4-mana enchantments in his deck. One of them is Binding of Thassa, the artifact enchantment. The other one, it's been the subject of a lot of talk in the coverage this weekend. Card you typically see a little bit in the sideboard. Reid playing 2 in the main and 2 in the board. Name that 4-mana enchantment.
And if you can, hashtag the answer, hashtag SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at SCG Live. And we will announce the winner at the conclusion of our semifinal round as we will turn our attention to the sideboards now. We will take a look at Boettcher having 3 Lifebane Zombies, a Sire of Insanity, a Dark Betrayal, 2 Doomblade, 2 Erebos God of the Dead, 2 copies of Drown in Sorrow, 3 Duress, and 1 copy of Rakdos' Return. What do you like?
I like the 2 copies of Doomblade quite a bit. I think the 2 Drown in Sorrows can reasonably come in here. It's not the best matchup for them, but there's enough stuff going on in Reid's deck that it kills that I think it's worth bringing in. I'm not sure if Jared's going to want to do anything with Lifebane Zombie in this matchup. I have heard arguments that it's powerful against Mono Blue because you're in the market for an evasion creature, but I'm not sure if he wants that and Night Veil Spectre, and Night Veil feels like it's potentially better in this matchup once you have it paired with Drown in Sorrow. So I think whatever Jared does with Drown in Sorrow is going to inform whether or not he wants Lifebane Zombie or Night Veil Spectre in the matchup. But the 2 Doomblades are easy enough to bring in.
3 Dissolve, 4 Gainsay, 2 Negate, 1 Rapidization, 3 Jace Architect of Thought, and 2 copies of Domestication on Duke's side. What do we like over there?
I do like the additional copy of Rapid Hybridization. It can be used to fizzle Jared's removal. It can also be used to answer Pack Rat or Desecration Demon, which are problematic cards from Reid's side. I think the additional copies of Domestication can come here as well. Jared has Pack Rat, which we saw in game 1. You're not always going to be able to domesticate it, but if it comes up, that's great. And even just slowing down the development is valuable. And Night Veil Spectre is another juicy target, or Lifebane Zombie, whichever one Jared goes with. I'm not sure if Reid necessarily wants to go up to the full 4 copies of Domestication, but I think it's reasonable to bring in at least the 3rd. I'm not sure how much he's going to want to mess around with the counter spells. All of them Gainsay we can easily rule out. Negate and Dissolve each line up well against certain things and poorly against other things. I think on the draw, Reid probably doesn't want to have a lot of that going on, but I could see some number of Negates and some number of Dissolves coming in.
Quick update for you guys in the Fabiano Segrist matchup. Fabiano currently up a game with Esper Control over Mike Segrist playing Mono Blue Devotion. We had a feeling things were going to lean that way. It's a pretty tough matchup for Mono Blue.
What are your thoughts on Jace in this matchup?
I don't love it. Um, there's kind of a card drawing engine. I think it's especially bad on the draw. I think it's okay on the play. I think that your game plan changes just a lot when you're in the draw, and I don't think that you can really incorporate 4 mana, come into play, turn over 3 cards, basically playing like a makeshift divination.
Yeah.
It's just too slow.
You can play only so many fours in the deck, and Reid has domestication plus Bident.
Yeah.
Jace feels to me, in the matchups where you're playing against a lot of little creatures, you want no Bidents and Jace plus domestication to tax small creatures. And in the matchups where, it's a control matchup, you want to be cutting your domestications and going with Bident and Jace, so you have a lot of card drawing. That feels sort of, Jace is sort of splitting the difference between those two kind of effects.
Yeah, I mean, the issue here is I think that domestication is actually pretty good, and Bident's good as well, and I could see actually wanting to go up to 3 or 4 domestications before you want any number of Jaces.
Well, is Bident good in the games you're losing? It feels like Jace has a better shot of being good in games that you're behind than Bident does.
I would agree with that. I think that just Bident is too powerful pulling you ahead and catching you back up in games that you're losing. I don't think Jace will do that.
Okay.
I think there's the opportunity for, a Bident, you get a hit or 2 in, and then you're caught back up. Or at least catching back up. And I don't think that Jace is always going to have the ability to do that.
But there's a lot of room for Reid to sideboard in this
Oh,
matchup.
yeah.
With the exception of Gainsay, which we can, again, easily rule out, I think all these sideboard cards are potentially live.
That's what makes it so interesting is exactly how he will sideboard. I think if you're Jared, you're playing the guessing game too. Boettcher will be on the play here. It looks like he's going to keep his hand. Looks like Duke is happy. Game 2 is underway. Swamp here from Boettcher. Duke with an island does have a 1-drop yet again. It's a Cloudfin Raptor, as Boettcher will take a draw. A Swamp and no pack right here, so you have to imagine he does have a removal spell at the ready. Duke will draw a card. We'll see what his second turn's going to be here. Can he evolve the Cloudfin Raptor?
And with Jared knowing Reid has access to a full playset of domestications, who knows if he's drawn all 4, but you can imagine some are in the deck. There's possibly an argument for Jared to remove Nightveil Spectre from his list. That might be the big outlier here.
Yeah, it's this real guessing game about, I believe, what you're supposed to do. When you know that your opponent has access to 4 copies of domestication in sideboard games, Nightveil Spectre becomes a real liability at that point. But it is so powerful that maybe you want to leave it around. Judge's Familiar looks like it's going to come down. Attempt to evolve the Cloudfin Raptor. And that will work, and here's an attack for 1, so Boettcher's going to go down to 19. Jared with 2 mana, going to Bile Blight the Judge's Familiar.
I think Jared was playing this turn hoping that Reid would just cast a 2-mana creature. Now he has to worry about rapid hybridization.
And Duke does have it. So going to turn the birdie into a 3/3 Frog Lizard. And evolve the Cloudfin Raptor. That's a pretty good turn for Reid. Boettcher will take a draw. You see the Mutavault in his hand. He definitely has a 3rd land. There's a Hero's Downfall over there as well. The question, of course, now is when do you start firing off removal spells? Do you continue to wait on your opponent's turn, or do you just use them as sorceries?
Well, at this point, Reid's down to 1 copy of domestication, 1 copy of rapid hybridization, assuming he's boarded in the second one. If he has not, then he's out. So he may want the flexibility at this point, but if he's going to be using a removal spell inside of combat anyway, which he likely is, I don't think he really wants to take 5 in this spot. He just cast it now.
Because you also work into the possibility of Reid just, Hero's Downfall, I'll negate it.
Yes.
I'll dissolve it.
That's the other thing. Reid may have brought in his counter spells, in which case you definitely want to be tagging him when he's tapped out.
Yeah. In for 2 comes the Duke. Boettcher going to go down to 17. Mutavault and just going to pass the turn back.
Did you update the Gerard match?
See another Mutavault over there for Jared. I believe also a Swamp in the hand. There's also a Gray Merchant hanging out right now. But with 3 mana up, that represents counter spells at this point.
Yeah. And Jared does have Desecration Demon. And against an opponent with a lot of domestications, curving into Desecration Demon is a pretty good path, but he does have to worry about that counter spell potentially. It's only Dissolve. That's the only counter that Reid has in his list that can stop this. There's no Syncopates. But if this Desecration Demon gets hit with a Dissolve, Jared may not really have anything else going on in his hand.
Oh, here's an attempt at the 6-6 flyer. We'll see if Duke has the removal spell or the counter spell right now, and the answer is no. So Reid will untap the Cloud Raptor. A 2-3 staring down a 6-6 flyer. We know who wins that war. So we'll see what Reid has to do on his 4th turn of the game. An island to begin. And now here's a Master of Waves. Only for 2, however. And Duke will pass the turn back. Jared staring at a Gray Merchant. We'll see if he does have a removal spell over here. Time to draw a card. It's a Swamp. Master of Waves isn't a card I feel like he needs to answer right away.
Especially one that is this anemic.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if Reid just started sacrificing these elemental tokens to tap down a Desecration Demon, because he knows how likely Master of Waves is to just eat a removal spell. At least guarantee some amount of productivity out of it.
There's a Swamp. 3. This is Hero's Downfall. He's not even going to get the chance. Now Boettcher is going to put the trigger on for Desecration Demon. He's going to start getting aggressive. In for 6 he goes. Duke going to go down to 14. Jared's hand right now is a land and a Gray Merchant. So this demon is very important.
I think these are the types of draws post-board that are the hardest for Reid, because Domestication provides him no help.
I think that's what makes the matchup so interesting. Domestication, its power level varies so much depending on what Jared's drawing and what he's up to.
Yep, and if Jared has removed Nightveil Spectre from his deck altogether, then it becomes quite underpowered.
In for 2 we go. Boettcher going to go down to 15. Duke with just an island before passing the turn back. Boettcher draws. Didn't get a good look at it. May have been a Pack Rat. Looks like Duke is flooding a little bit here. Boettcher going to start by attacking for 6. Duke is going to go down to 8. And it was a Lifebane Zombie that Boettcher picked up. Pretty important card, I think, as far as the information game is concerned. So here is the zombie. Does Duke have a counterspell? Duke will show a Domestication in 2 islands. Can't be too surprised if you're Jared to see a Domestication over there.
Yeah, makes sense. Reid on 3 cards in hand, hasn't really been up to much.
Yeah.
And if Jared has brought in Lifebane Zombie, that suggests to me that he does not have Drown in Sorrow in his list post-board. I guess it's not impossible, but it would be weird.
Yeah. Though it would be very interesting if he shows a Lifebane Zombie and then Drown in Sorrows the next game. Or even this game, for example.
Yeah.
I think that would be very interesting. See if Duke is able to find another spell here. Again, we know Domestication's in the hand, and I imagine it'll be cast this turn on Lifebane Zombie, but what else is he up to?
And I question how much Jared wants these effects at all against Reid. These Nightveils and these Lifebane Zombies.
Just becomes a removal heavy deck with Gray Merchant, maybe Pack Rat and Desecration Demon to get the job done.
I understand those cards are fine, but Reid having so many Domestications just changes things a lot, in my opinion.
Step 1 is an attack for 2. Boettcher's going to go down to 13. Here's an island. There's the Domestication. Lifebane Zombie belongs to Reid. And Duke will pass the turn back. Boettcher draws a card. Looks like it was a Temple of Malice. Desecration Demon trigger is on the stack. Will Reid make a sacrifice? It looks like the answer is yes. Going to activate a Mutavault, and we'll sacrifice that. So the demon will become a 7/7. Boettcher will play a Temple of Malice. Take a look at some things. That top card quickly goes to the bottom, and now Gray Merchant's going to come in, drain, and gain for 4. Duke will go down to 4, Boettcher up to 17, and he's sitting very comfortably.
I like Reid's play there, a little non-intuitive, but he's trying to keep that Lifebane Zombie around. He wants to race in this spot. It's probably all for naught now that Jared has deployed Gray Merchant, but...
I also imagine he wants that around because of simply devotion.
Yeah.
You know, if he draws a Master of Waves here, we'll create 4 creatures. And that might buy him enough time to get back into this game.
Yeah, Master of Waves does a lot of work for Reid in this spot. Jared does not find a removal spell. It's a lot of blockers.
Duke going to slow down with the Cloud from the Raptor now. That one might be on chump blocking duty. And we will sacrifice a Life Bane Zombie. There goes the Domestication. Demon's up to an 8-8. Here come Mutavaults. It's time to get in the red zone. And that is going to do it. So Jared Boettcher is going to even things up here against Reid Duke. Black Red Devotion and Mono Blue Devotion will play a third and final game.
And that's the path that I like here. Just removal spell, Desecration Demon.
Yep. It's simple, it's straightforward, and that's what gets the job done a lot of the time against Mono Blue.
Yeah.
You see Reid going back to the sideboard very quickly. He's moving some cards in and out. I imagine that things do change when he's on the play, so maybe we'll see some more counter magic here.
There's definitely more of an argument to be bringing in dissolves when he's on the play. On the draw, I don't think he can just sit on his hands on turn 3, but on the play, he may be able to go creature into creature. Now I have something going on here. Can hold up dissolve.
Boettcher not going back to the drawing board. He's happy with this configuration, but you do see Reid gonna make sure that he likes exactly where his 60 is for this third and final game. Things certainly do change quite a bit when he's on the play, and he's even reaching for more cards here. So curious as to what he is moving in and moving out in this situation.
Even though there's a lot of spells in Jared's deck, I don't think Reid necessarily wants the negates, because if he's losing, it's probably to the creatures, either Pack Rat or Desecration Demon.
Looks like we have our first finalist, my friend.
Not surprisingly, Gerard able to advance to the finals. I thought that matchup was comfortably favorable for Gerard.
Yeah. And we'll take a look at our Season 3 leaderboard right now, where Fabiano's not on the first page. He's on the second one, but it looks like he's going to catapult himself to the first page now, because Fabiano has 86 points. As you'll see here, Mann, Davis, Jones, Boettcher, Tenjum, all those guys are here, but Fabiano has 86 points. And if we work our way to the first page, Ross Merriam has 92. Now, he gained a few today, but yesterday, but we've talked a lot about Joe Lissette, we talked about Alex Bertoncini, and we talked about Ross Merriam. And Gerard is now going to be catapulting a couple of people here. Now, he's got a long way to go to catch the big guns at the top, but this is a really important tournament for him. If he wins this tournament, he is in the conversation.
Yeah, and there's still a Legacy Open to be played today as well. So Gerard with an opportunity to make up a lot of legwork, and that's what's compelling to me about these Opens. We get, tied up talking a lot about, the race between Joe and Alex or whatever. It really only takes one weekend, like the one that Ross had in Providence a couple weekends ago. What Gerard may be able to do this weekend, where it certainly becomes a 3 or 4 person race instead of a 2-person race.
And we know that we will see Ross later today playing combo L's in Legacy, as he always does. Lost in the finals in Providence a couple weeks back. And you have to imagine he'll be able to put together another nice tournament. He had a good tournament yesterday. Basically lost playing for top 8 to Brian Cook.
Although Alex's results in Legacy, in my mind, much better than his results in Standard, typically. So this is a good opportunity for Alex as well this weekend.
And you have to imagine he's going to be playing Esper Deathblade again.
Yep.
As he's always been doing, top 8 in the Invitational with that during Season 2. So it's going to be very, very compelling to watch. But we will finish up here with Boettcher and Duke. Duke will be on the play for game number 3.
And this game matters a lot to Gerard, too, because I'm sure he's more than comfortable with his matchup against Reid and not that comfortable with his matchup against Jared.
You think he's unhappy to see Reid mulligan quickly there to 6? Yeah. Boettcher going to take a look at his opener here.
Gerard very easily dealt with Sigrist, and Reid is playing main deck Domestications.
Yeah.
Which can only help Gerard's matchup.
Yeah, and with the approach that Gerard's taking with his Esper deck, too, just being very proactive. I like that as well. Makes the matchup much different as opposed to an Esper deck trying to be reactive the entire time. Boettcher does keep his 6 cards. Duke is going to go... Boettcher keeps his 7 cards, Duke going down to 6.
And if there's any deck in the format you don't want to be mulliganing against, it's various builds of Black Devotion.
It's not too fun.
They are so good at trading 1-for-1. That's all it comes down to. A lot of times when I was playing against that deck, it just felt like my ratio of lands versus spells. That's kind of all that mattered. The text boxes of the cards that I was drawing didn't even really matter that much. And when that's the way the games play out, you can't mulligan.
Yeah, I found that you had to actually keep some sketchy hands against them because mulliganing is so bad against them.
It's the same experience of playing in Legacy against decks that have Hypnotorak.
Yeah.
you know, you can't be that aggressive mulliganing, because if you mulligan and they him you, you might just lose the game almost no matter what you've mulliganed into. So you had to just keep your raw card count high.
6 cards here for Reid. Does he like what he sees? I see Gerard right over the shoulder. Probably pulling for the mono blue player.
Well, he and Reid are very good friends.
This is true as well.
And on a selfish level, I'm sure, Gerard would like to play against one of these players much more than the other.
Boettcher going to play Temple of Malice. Leaves the top card on top before passing the turn back. Duke with just another island before passing back, so no 1 or no 2. It's Blood Crypt tapped before passing the turn back over to Duke. This is a big turn for Reid. If he has a card like Thassa, he can really undo his mulligan very quickly. 3 mana. It's a Nightfell Spectre. That's still pretty good.
Yep.
Erebos got to the dead the draw. And there is a Hero's Downfall right there in the main phase. Not wasting any time is Jared.
Not getting any fancier here than he has to, you know. Rapid Hybridization, counter spells, just kill that thing.
Duke looks like he does have a Thassa in hand.
Yeah, he had it last turn too, elected not to play it, went with Nightfell Spectre instead.
Does he want to deploy the God of the Sea this turn? He's going to go with Spectre yet again.
Now, Jared only has 8 answers in his deck to Nightfell Spectre. Or 9, I guess. He has a Dreadbore as well. So there is a chance that he just can't answer this.
This is 4 mana. There's a Desecration Demon.
This also qualifies as an answer in
Would
this
you
spot.
say? Would
Yeah.
you say, yeah?
Though Reid could potentially Rapid Hybridization this and then start connecting.
I am a little surprised not to see Thassa being deployed right away, but now Thassa's here. It'll evolve the Cloudfin Raptor. Now pass the turn back, and now this puts Boettcher in a little bit of a difficult situation. It's very important for him to answer the Nightfell Spectre now, not with the Desecration Demon, but with actual removal spell.
Yep. Cannot allow the board to just build up at this point. Reid was trying to go with the high upside play, I think, hoping that Jared didn't have an answer to Nightfell Spectre, which again is not unreasonable.
And both players do have access to each other's deck list, so they know the answers available to each card.
4 Bioblight and 4 copies of Hero's Downfall, plus 1 Dreadbore. The sideboarded Doomblades don't help Jared, so not a ton of answers to Nightfell Spectre. And if you have 2, then that's even more of an argument, because the odds he has 2 answers, even lower.
And Boettcher working out some calculations in his head right now about how he wants to move forward. Here comes Santa Claus, in for 6. And another demon. However, with just 1 mana available, Duke knows that, all right, the green light's on, I don't have to worry about anything.
He has at least 1 turn where the coast is clear.
Yep. Now, don't get me wrong, he is certainly under the gun. 2 demons is nothing to ignore.
Unless Jared has sided in his Dark Betrayal, which would be awesome here.
That'd be quite good.
This would be a really good turn.
Yeah.
You know, you're playing against a guy with a bunch of domestications. You already know he has Nightfell Spectre. It's not impossible.
And that would be very game inside the game if I've ever seen it. Dude, giving this scry a good long thought where he wants to put this. And he is going to leave it on top, draw that card. So what did Reid leave on top is the question. Cloudfin Raptor currently a 1-2. Of course, Nightfell Spectre a 2-3. Thassa 5-5. Now this is a domestication. Yes. This is one of the plays that I absolutely love from this deck. You domesticate a Desecration Demon. You don't get to keep it for long, but they already have one, so that's the fodder. So, domestication being used as a removal spell. Of course, the demon will grow a little bit, but more importantly for Reid, he's able to get through 5, 6, 7, 8 points of damage, trigger his Nightveil Spectre. That's a swamp. That might be important. Duke going to put that immediately into play and pass the turn back.
That would have been a really good turn for Jared to have Dark Betrayal.
Would have been a disgusting turn for Jared to have Dark Betrayal. Whew.
This is another play. You identified it right away, but that's also the first time I've ever seen that play in action.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to get a little bit creative when you play mono blue.
Yeah.
And we have seen Reid get creative here in the elimination rounds.
These domestications have done quite a bit of work. And Jared with Erebos God of the Dead in his deck here post-board. I'm a little surprised to see that card.
That was a surprising card to me, and he's had that since the opening turns of the game. You know, there hasn't really been a window to pull the trigger on that. Yeah. As here comes the demon. Duke going to go down to 7. Boettcher does have at least one gray merchant. There's also another copy of Mutavault over there. I am a touch surprised to see Erebos here, though.
I can only imagine that card coming in if he's done some radical sideboarding to try to take the sting out of domestication. But we've seen Lifebane Zombie, so we know that he hasn't sideboarded. You know, he hasn't gone completely off the rails trying to play around domestication.
And there's your Mutavault. So the land has been played. The question is, how does he want to move forward? This feels like, oh, the Doomblade. Okay, I thought it might be a pack rat. But you can see he's a little bit unsure of himself and how he wants to progress this game.
He has a Doomblade, so he could play Doomblade and Erebos, but I don't know if he can give up his whole turn just putting Erebos God of the Dead into play.
Yeah. Even though he does have the ability to turn it on the following turn with the Gray Merchant, the drain will be a little bit bigger as well. Certainly appealing. The Doomblade doesn't really have a great target. I mean, Doomblade and Cloudfin Raptor is not exciting, I don't think.
Take that.
Yeah. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is there's the Erebos as well. Now Cloudfin Raptor can't be sacrificed to Desecration even, so, you know, he's going to have to find something real to do it with, as Boettcher with just 2 cards left. Duke is going to take a look at the top card here. Let's also keep in mind right now as well that Reid does have a black mana in play for Nightveil Spectre, so his Nightveil Spectre, you know, the equity on the card has gone up
Yes.
a great deal.
Gerard still floating around in the background here. Recently vanquished Mike Sigris as well.
I'm very interested in what's happening between these 2 great players, as they're playing a very intense Game 3 right now.
Now Reid's at 7 with Jared having 2 Mutavaults in play, so he's representing lethal on board.
And if you read, you have to imagine that he has at least 1 Gray Merchant in hand, or you're going to play around one to the best of your ability. Reid giving a very long thought. It's a mystery card. He doesn't look thrilled with it, but he is going to draw it.
I would not be thrilled whenever Reid Duke scries and says, I'm keeping it on top.
And thinks about it that long, too. Here's a Nykthos. Oh, boy. This might be for 4 blue. He's going to do it with a swamp instead. There's a Biden of Thassa. Now Thassa's turned on. Into the red zone. This is for 5, 6, 7. You get 2 triggers from the Biden and a trigger from the Nightveil Spectre. So there's a swamp. You know, Reid has already played his land. There's 2 cards. What's the follow-up going to be? Because Master of Waves is out the window.
I'm a little surprised to see Reid use the Nykthos there, unless he had something very specific in mind to do with the remainder of his mana, because it really cuts off the number of cards that he can hit off of Jared's deck. Because he has a Nightveil Spectre in play, things like Hero's Downfall off of Jared's deck are very live for him in the event that his Nykthos is available.
Yeah. Frostburn Weird, gonna pass the turn back with just 1 blue mana available. That's representing rapid hybridization right now.
Now, if Reid doesn't have a land, then he has to do it this way.
Yep.
So
Boettcher draws his card for the turn. It's got to be Hero's Downfall.
That is fine then.
5 mana, Gray Merchant. Let's see if there will be any effects with the trigger on the stack.
I mean, this is 4/5, which means now Mutavault becomes lethal attacker.
Yep.
Oh, does he?
Yep, there's the Rapid Hybrid on the Desecration Demon. That's pretty big. So Rapid Hybridization is going to resolve. Yes, Jared will get a Frog Lizard, but this is only going to be a drain for 3. Boettcher's going to go up to 8. Duke's going to go down to 4.
But now he doesn't have lethal.
Yeah.
His Erebos isn't on. He can't attack with the Frog Lizard. Can't attack with the Gray Merchant. The Mutavault's blocked. I think Reid has found it. The Duke.
See Boettcher analyzing things.
He's dead on the way back. I mean, he has enough mana to make all of his creatures unblockable, and that's 8 points of damage.
Boettcher staring at that Hero's Downfall. Maybe it was better to cast that instead.
Well, he's putting Reid on Rapid Hybridization or bust.
Yeah.
And it's not really clear what that Hero's Downfall does in the face of the Biden, because Reid's going to find so much more action over the course of the game. So it seems like a good time to pick your spot.
And that is going to do it. Reid Duke is going to win this match over Jared Boettcher. Where there's a will, there's a way. And Mono Blue Devotion is moving on to the finals to play against Gerard Fabiano and Esper Control.
Jared scratching his face a little bit. It's the same feeling that we had after Reid's quarterfinal match of, that third game in both matches was there. You came so close.
Yep.
There had to have been something different you could have done.
That's the look.
That's the look.
Of what did I do? I imagine I could have won this game somehow, some way.
Yeah. And not to belabor the point here, but Erebos really stunk up the joint